Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about the Twilight Zone Season 2, Episode 3. It's called The Who of You. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. This episode features a down-on-his-luck actor by the name of Harry Pine, who is struggling to pay rent, pay his electric bill specifically. Him and his girlfriend are going through a rough time, mainly because he can't afford to pay his electric bill, and he decides to rob a bank and discovers that he has some kind of an insane superpower where, by looking into directly someone's eye, he can switch bodies with them. And that is kind of what sets the episode up. So we'll get into more of it as we go. But Tara, how did you feel about The Who of You?
Yeah, it was an alright episode, I thought.
Is that about as positive as we can get on this new show?
I think like so. I mean, I think this one and the last one were okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. Like, that's kind of where I fall on it. Ultimately, I kind of like, as it was going, I got into it when I got to the premise, because obviously there's like a good 5 or so minutes of like just the setup of who this character is before it does this, like, okay, he's going to rob a bank, just all of a sudden he just sort of goes in and tries to do it, and then the moment happens where it sort of zooms in the eye and then zooms in the teller's eye, and they sort of switch places, and she's like well, they're both confused, right? But she's he's especially confused, and he's looking down, and he actually grabs the money that she's already put in the bag, because this becomes the MacGuffin of the episode, is that as he swaps bodies throughout the episode, he has this bag of money, and never once thinks to put it into a different bag so that no one thinks it's suspicious that he's carrying a literal bank bag, full of cash. But
well, he's got a lot going on.
He really does. He's struggling to contain these new powers, but it's because eventually it became apparent. It's like, well, why don't you switch bodies when the police aren't looking at you and no one will know who to look for? Because like, for the first little while, every time he switches bodies, it's always by accident. So he kind of does it in front of a policeman, and then he switches to the policeman, and then he switches to someone else, but he does it in front of another policeman, so they see someone grab the bag and run away. So it's basically this calling card of like, okay, this is the person you're looking for the whole time, even though he should be a master of disguise in many ways. One of the things we have to talk about, though, is that the character is an actor, and the opening of the episode is him auditioning for a role and doing very poorly, and it's shot very mysteriously, where you never see the people who are casting this role, the director and whoever. They're in the shadows, you never see them, and he's upset that he doesn't get the role. And I think obviously there's something being said here, or like a theme they're playing with, the idea that he actually finally gets to play different roles, and actually does it quite poorly, despite the fact that he's literally in other bodies and should be able to get away with pretending to be these people.
Yeah, there was a decent scene, though. Like, I think the role he's going for is of a police officer, and there's a scene later on when he is the police officer, and he's kind of doing like the taxi driver moment in the mirror, trying to see if he could just act his way as being a police officer, and if he could pull it off. And it's kind of a fun little moment.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's this thing, because we started the episode and we were with this guy for 5 minutes, and we still see him throughout the episode, and the actor actually has to be pretty good, because every time, because the first time he switches again, because he swaps with the bank teller, and then when he switches to the policeman in the back when he's trying to leave with the money, I actually questioned, well, wait, does that mean that the policeman's now in the woman's body? And
Right, like, is there no way to go back? Like, he would have to keep switching back and back the way that in reverse of what he switched in order for everyone to be their personality again.
Like I thought it was going to be some sort of chain where like people were all one body apart. That's not what happens, though. Whenever he switches again, the person that he was before just goes back to their own body. So the bank teller becomes the bank teller again. She's delighted that she's not this random dude that's getting handcuffed for robbing a bank. And now the cop goes straight to his original body. So whoever he becomes, they become him, who for the rest of the episode is in a police station, handcuffed, and the policeman thinks he's just a crazy person trying to like pretend to be insane by switching characters every 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I think Ethan Embry does a pretty good job in the lead here as somebody who's constantly playing a different personality while handcuffed and being contained at the police station. There's one later on where he becomes a kid that I think was really, really funny.
Yeah, it's also kind of interesting that the lead character has to then be played by multiple actors throughout the episode. And yeah, for the most part, they do a decent job. Kind of, it's one of these things where usually in a TV show, when you have like a body swap episode, it's after like at least a season, sometimes like several seasons of knowing these characters. So they have to know their mannerisms so well for us to buy it. But because these are all obviously new, fresh characters to us, there's not a lot to go on. But they do a decent job.
I mean, but he does pick like very different people every time.
Yeah. But there should be something recognizable in every single one to tell us that it's him. There should be a mannerism or something. And I think for the most part it handles it quite well. There's not, because like I say, there's not a lot to go on. There's not like a specific tick he has or something like that they can kind of whip it. Which I kind of actually...
No, he's very arrogant though.
Oh, he is very arrogant. But what I mean is that I kind of appreciate that they didn't do that, because it'd almost be the cheap way of doing it, where like...
Yeah, if he does like the Bogart thumb lick thing.
Yeah, he's got a thing that he does every time, just so we always know it's him, and it'd probably be
the Kaiser Soze way of lighting a lighter.
It'd be too easy. It'd be such an easy way of doing it, and I feel like having to rely on just letting the acting sort of accomplish it is a little bit, just a little bit more impressive. It feels a bit more earned doing it that way.
Yeah, and I like his Billy Porter impression. I thought that was a fun scene too. It was also interesting because in that part, like everybody so far when they become him, or when they switch places with him, it's like they immediately freak out because they don't know where they are and they don't know why the mirror is a different reflection. But when Billy Porter does it, all of a sudden it's like like he's supposed to, he knows where he's gonna go and he's just surprised that this worked and he doesn't freak out, and it's like he's like totally calm the whole time.
Okay, I've got that from context, but you're going to have to explain two things. One for me and one for the audience. Who's Billy Porter, first of all?
He was the like psychic guy.
Okay, and secondly, set up for the audience. There's a psychic and why he knows what he's doing. Like, you set up the context for that.
Okay, so so there's a scene where he decides to go into a psychic when he's not being chased by the cops. He's just in some random guy's body. And he goes into a psychic's office, I assume because, you know, something supernatural has happened, so maybe all supernatural things that he's dismissed in the past are real. And talks to a psychic guy who says, "You are not who you think you are," or something, and it's Billy Porter, and he walks in and he's fabulous, and he sits down and he tells him about he's sort of doing like a cold reading on him, so you can't quite tell if he's full of it or not. And then it gets our lead guy to confess more things. Like we find out that he thinks his girlfriend is cheating on him, for one. And then the character that Billy Porter's playing, the psychic, asks, like, if you have this ability, like, where does the other personality go? And which, you know, it's, I don't know. I like that we get answers to how this works in a way, you know? And so he basically volunteers. He just looks him in the eye and lets our lead guy jump into his body and then returns him back to him. And then he could say, "Oh, I'm at the other people are in the police station."
At this point, the detective, he's kind of like starting to at least, you know, believe there's something weird going on. It's not just this guy's acting crazy, because the details of the jogger who was interviewing inside Harry's body before was kind of making sense, and he was starting to piece things together a little bit. And then of course he changes.
Also when he was the cop, because the cop like knew him, like he knew the detective guy who was interviewing him.
Yeah, that was kind of the first sign for him that like there was something true to it. But because he swapped again after that to the jogger, he started asking questions like, "Okay, where were you just now?" And he describes being in the street jogging, and so yeah, the cop's kind of the grounded element for him. That's kind of like, well, he has to actually consider something else is going on here.
Yeah, so I imagine then the jogger would be in the psychic's room for a little bit, and then the psychic, who is Harry, our lead guy, looks back into his eyes and swaps him back.
Okay, you may be
But for
right.
a moment, the jogger was back in his body, but that body was in the psychic's office. Huh?
Hold on, hold on. I'm trying to process this. I'm trying to process this. So, hold on. Psychic looks into his eyes. Harry takes the psychic's body, so the psychic goes to his original body.
Mm-hmm.
And then, assuming the jogger's in the room with Harry inside the psychic's body, Harry in psychic's body looks at Jogger again, swaps into him. Okay, it kind of works.
It returns, the jogger back into Harry.
All right, okay. I felt there was something off about it when I was watching it.
It seems like he can swap back and forth as much as he wants, even if it's the same person.
This feels like it makes sense.
I think we even see the jogger or say something like, "I'm back," and then all of a sudden he's back into the Harry's body and he freaks out again.
I think there's a line where he says like, "Oh, I was me again for a minute." Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. I'll go with it. So it turns out, so basically the psychic kicks him out of his store. He gets upset because his bag of money was left in the store, so he wants to get back in. He even tries to get a couple of police officers to help him get in to get his bag.
Risky.
This is the bag they've seen be swapped around like repeatedly throughout the episode. And it doesn't take
it's
that.
not like a black briefcase or anything. It's like orange and beige.
Yeah, and immediately, it's not that long before these two officers like get told over the walkie-talkie, because the jogger's like, "Oh, I was in a psychic shop or whatever for a few minutes." He basically has this plan. He follows this. Well, actually, he swaps around like 3 bodies first. He kind of like he goes across to this emo kid, and then he jumps across to this woman across the street, and then jumps from her to this old man who's got into the building next door to the psychic shop. And
I really, really, really wanted that old man to be like, turns out he's blind, and he had like one of those like seeing canes that they blind people use that you couldn't see at first.
You were expecting that twist.
Yeah.
I mean, see if he was blind
or
though.
I was thinking the twist would be he would go into a blind person, or he would like go into an animal on accident. Like he would look a dog in the eyes and be stuck in a dog.
But question though, if the person was blind, could he even swap with them in the first place?
Well, I don't know. The glass seems to be a limitation, not like sight.
Well, that's the thing we're getting to in a second, is that he tries to swap into a woman who's wearing glasses and he can't do it. So the weakness turns out to be a physical barrier. Like,
right.
So I assume it doesn't matter that it's glass. I assume it's anything, because it's not like glass is that special, in terms of a material.
I don't know.
I assume anything in front of the eye would block him. So he takes.
So you're saying cataracts would not work if the guy had cataracts?
Yes, I'm saying that.
Well, it's risky jumping into an old guy like that then.
Yeah, but he wouldn't be able to. It would just stop him, like the woman with the glasses. He just wouldn't be able to.
All right.
He'd basically just be going like this, and then not being able to get in.
Like he does with the woman.
Exactly. The same thing. So he goes into her son instead. And...
Who is the most irritating kid. I'm glad he jumped at the kid so the kid would shut up. I mean, I'm sure that's on purpose. Like,
I would probably.
We want you to notice that this kid never stops talking, and then all of a sudden is silent.
I love when she goes to read him a story. She's like, what story do you want to read? Whatever the kid's name is. And he's like, whatever. She's like, what's that? I mean, whatever you want to read, mommy, I guess.
Mommy. Oh, sorry, kitty.
And the reason why I want to send this their apartment is because there's the apartment that's like right up next to the, from their window you can get down to the roof of the psychic shop. And he sneaks in. And of course, the big climax is that the detective who's been kind of figuring things out gets there with Harry's body, which has currently got the jogger in it. Oh, sorry. So it's the little boy. The little boy's
he's
in
got the kid. Yeah,
he's got the little boy in
which
it.
is really fun. Like when the kid, because he swaps with the kid while the police officer has Harry in the cop car with them, and they're going to the psychic. So all of a sudden, he like becomes a kid and just starts crying and wants his mommy. But it's really cute. I think it was funny.
Yeah.
I know you're
okay.
not allowed to say anything nice, so.
What? Well, why? What's that mean?
Nothing. Just
I've
standing
said-
by your principles.
I've said positive things
Yeah.
earlier this episode.
You've said things that have been above the line of neutral.
I what do you want from me? I'm not that, just because it's not terrible doesn't mean I'm enthusiastic about it.
I know. I'm just being, extra good cop.
Okay, but extra good cop. So the cop pleads for him to swap into his body again so the kid can have his body back. And then at the last he goes, okay, fine, but I don't want my body. And he swaps into the cop.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so then now Harry's in the cop's body, cop's in Harry's body. And the cop in Harry's body grabs the gun and is like holding him at gunpoint. But then police show up. And of course they see just him standing there with a gun and
the bank robber pointing a gun at a cop.
Yeah. So they shoot him, and then of course it has to have a little pointless twist at the end. Now, it's not the worst one in that it doesn't necessarily change, like, it's not this big contextual change, but it's a pretty freaking big coincidence. Like, this is pretty convoluted.
Yeah, it's a little hokey. Just go on, tell him what happens.
So so he's been practicing all episode. He's in the police body. Then I think maybe one of the other ones he was practicing like how to try and tell. If I even phones his girlfriend at one point and tries to convince her that's him, and she's like, "That's not. That's some other dude."
Yeah, this is not the voice of my boyfriend. Like,
do not call me again. And he shows up at the apartment. He's like, "Here we go," and he knocks on the door, and it's funny because you know exactly where this is going. Where she just lets him in immediately without even seeing that he's got a badge. And it's like, oh. This is who she's cheating on him with.
Well, it's not like they drag it out for a long time.
It doesn't matter. As soon as they open the door, because it's not about it being predictable. It's about it being bad and predictable. That's the problem. Because I realized what they were about to do and went, oh.
I don't think it's bad. I think it's fine.
It's a
not
stupid.
Bad.
It's a stupid
twist. The thing that's
twist.
bad about it, or the thing that's dumb about it, is that. She says, Harry's been gone all day. Like, yeah, and you could come home anytime. Like, why are you just letting him in? Like, making out with him. You don't know that he's dead.
It's a stupid twist because, what? So, in this entire seemingly big city, I don't know what city they're in, but in this big city, the person that his girlfriend is having an affair with just happens to be the cop that starts investigating his own bank robbery. It's a little bit hard to swallow. Is all I'm saying. These characters had no connection whatsoever, and then all of a sudden at the end, oh no, they had this connection the whole time. It's a tacked on twist. It's not as bad as the twist in the first one because it doesn't completely like.
No, the first one was dumb.
All the fun of the episode with the body swapping isn't really changed by this twist, so it's not really affecting the bulk of what the episode was about or what it was doing. But it's still just an annoying little thing at the end that is like, now I've got a bad taste in my mouth. Like.
Well, I would have preferred if he like ended up in looking into the eyes of a hamster or something, and then he was stuck in a cage forever. But because he doesn't really have too much of a comeuppance, but I guess like the comeuppance of the episode is like, well, he tried his whole life to be. I don't know. He mentions like he went to Juilliard and he's been trying. He thinks that he deserves more. He doesn't appreciate the life he has. And now he gets everything he wants, but it's only because everybody likes that he's a different person. Completely. Like he gets the girl he gets the love and respect of the girl that he had because he's not himself. And he gets the job that he was going for, because I guess he can't hold on to the lie of that he knows how to be a cop, so I assume he just quits his job and becomes an actor, and he gets the part that he was going for. Yeah,
that's the final scene is him getting the part in the audition room.
Right, so
well, just to extrapolate this a little bit, I want to go one step further with it. I feel like the whole point is that Twilight Zone, or at least science fiction in a lot of ways, is about taking something and turning the metaphor into a literal thing. So the episode, you could look at it and say the story is really about him just becoming a new person. But just in this case, because it's Twilight Zone, it's literally becoming a new person. He literally becomes this other, this new person, new body, everything.
Yeah, or acting is about putting yourself in someone's shoes. Like, it's about empathy, and this literally does that also.
But does it? I don't know if I agree with that. Does he have empathy? Has he learned anything by the end of the episode?
That's the thing. Like, that's what acting does. Like, it is, or that's what movies do. anyway. Like they movies put you in someone else's shoes so you can like see you can like visualize empathy.
Well, yeah,
you know?
but does this episode do that with this character? Does he change or
No.
realize empathy by the end?
I don't think so. I think there is a bit of shame and embarrassment. The idea that the only way that you can have the woman you love is that you have to pretend to be somebody else for the rest of her life. I mean, he wanted to be an actor, and now has to live his life in a lie in somebody else's shoes. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe there's something there.
See, I don't think it is. This is the classic case of this show not knowing what its message is by the end, and it just throws something at the screen and hope it sticks. Because this is so muddy at the end, actually. Now I'm thinking about it more, I think I like this ending even less. because it's like, you could have some sort of point where he learns something, but he doesn't.
Okay, but it's not bad. It's not a bad ending. It's just a underwhelming ending. Like, if this was a Black Mirror episode, he would have looked into the eyes of like a bird in a cage.
Yes, and got some comeuppance, and I mean, yes. I don't know if the humiliation that he has to be someone else's comeuppance when he still literally gets to be that person now, and he gets the job at the end, but he's not really. It'd be different if he'd learned something and then got the job almost as a reward for being a better person, but he's not a better person. He's actually, if anything, he's worse. He's worse than when he started, because instead of learning how to work, because the whole argument he has with his girlfriend at the start is that he never actually works for anything. He's entitled and thinks he deserves everything. And it's not like he even tries that hard, seemingly, at the end. He just gets the job because he looks better. I mean, maybe that's the sad message of the episode, but I don't think it drives it home. It doesn't.
Yeah, is that you get what you want if you're an attractive man? Maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, it is a step up.
I just. All right, calm down. I don't know. Like, I feel like these goddamn episodes, like, they like to pretend they're about something, and they kind of pose a few questions and then kind of fail to do anything with them at the end.
Okay, well, I mean, the end is not great, but I wouldn't say it's bad. It's nowhere near like the first episode. But, and I mean, the second episode we liked, but it was a bit, I don't know, just kind of blah. But
I think the concept of this episode is better, and it's more fun while you're watching it. But
I think it is fun. I think it's pretty fun, like, to watch people just body swap and have to be other people for a while.
But it has a bad ending.
But it has I don't know, an underwhelming ending.
It's a bad ending.
I'm not using the word bad.
You can avoid the word all you want. Doesn't change the fact of what it is.
Underwhelming is, I don't have to be an extreme. I can be just kind of in the middle.
I'm not being extreme. Bad's not extreme. Terrible's extreme. Atrocious is
Okay.
extreme.
I'm not saying good or bad, thumbs up, thumbs down. I'm saying somewhere in the middle.
Bad's like a 4 on the scale. If 5 is neutral, bad is 4. It's just one step below average.
Okay. It's fine. It's not a bad episode. It's fun to watch. It's not like, I don't know. It's not terrible.
I'm going to say it's an episode that was pretty okay, and then I think the ending, the more I've thought about it, actually retroactively makes me dislike it.
All right.
I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize to me.
I feel that way, all right? I just...
Oh, you apologize to all those Jordan Peele fans who really want him to succeed in this show that he believes in.
I mean, stick to the movies, Jordan. You do good work there.
He does great work.
Yeah, that's Twilight Zone.
And how dare
so
you
far.
accuse him of not making great TV? Key and Peele is great.
I do. I've only seen a few clips of Key and Peele. I've not seen Key and Peele in totality. Okay, I feel like it's muddying whatever message it was kind of going for. It kind of flips because early on I was thinking, okay, he's an actor. He's swapping into different bodies. There you go. There's your theme, right? and either he, fails to learn his lesson by the end and loses everything because of it, or he learns a lesson and maybe gets some kind of a win because he has grown. And instead, it's this weird combination where he's learned nothing and still gets everything he wants. And it just...
Yeah. I mean, he gets everything he wants, but he has to, like, I don't know. There is, like, a bit of a punishment still for it, right? Like, in order to get everything you want, you have to not be you because you're terrible.
I think the problem is that the end with the casting scene. See, if it ended with the girlfriend scene, I think I'd agree with you that that's like the final gut punch of like, this is the punishment. But because it does the happy I got the part scene afterwards, it's like, nah, he's adjusted. He's fine being this person now. He's clearly succeeding at it. If anything, what the ending should have maybe been is him trying to be this person, and then ultimately we see that his shitty personality ultimately ruins this person too, because it's just who he is. It doesn't matter what he looks like or who he pretends to be. What he really is ultimately will always shine through in the end.
Is that what they're trying to say, that maybe it's something superficial about him that people reject?
No, I think it's the opposite. I think he thinks it's superficial, but what it actually is that over time people get to know what he's really like. I think that's the point of the scene with the girlfriend at the start when she's talking about what how he is, how he doesn't work at things. He talks about all these big ideas. He claims to have plans and yada yada yada, but he doesn't actually do anything. He's got a very blasé attitude about everything. So I feel
I wonder
like
what happens. Like, he's in the end, he's wearing glasses when he does the audition because he doesn't want to look people in the eyes.
I assume that's to just stop any accidental transfers.
Right, but now that his original body is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess, yeah, his original body's gone and the mind or soul or whatever of the cop is gone.
Yeah, so if he transfers again, does whoever he transfers to just die because they've got nowhere to go?
That's what I was thinking. Like, do the rules change now? Or is it just that he's stuck in this body forever and that's, I don't know.
Well, he's not stuck. He can still transfer as much as he wants. It's just that the people he's transferring to all die. Because he can go from body to body. He doesn't have to return to his own body.
Well, I assume it would just be that it would be the same rules as when he was the body of Harry. They would just go into his new body of the cop. Yeah.
Oh, it depends. I don't know. They could argue it the other way around because they tried to go into his body, but his body is dead, so they just go into his body and die because it's dormant. and then
every time he transfers to another person, they just automatically die.
Yeah, and then the cop's body, when it's left behind, will just die, just fall to the ground as a husk because there's nothing to go in it.
Oh, that's super dark.
Either that, or they'll just be in like an ether, and they'll go back to the body, and they've essentially seen the afterlife. There's a sequel in this. There's a sequel story here. I hate to be a downer, I do, but I feel like this show's determined to show me how smart it is, and kind of just stumbles over itself in doing so.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of, the premise of this sort of felt like a classic episode. It doesn't really remind me of, well, I guess it's kind of like The Four of Us Are Dying, the one with the guy who can change faces. That's about it.
I agree the concept feels more like a classic Twilight Zone concept, and I think that's why once it got going I was like, okay, this is not bad in terms of a fun idea. It's just it's, do you know, as a part of it's like, because I think in the original Twilight Zone the ending would be the moment where he gets shot, when the cop in his body gets shot. That'd be kind of the dark ending. And maybe Rod Serling would come in and say something about some nefarious souls still exist only in the Twilight Zone or something, because the idea that he's getting away with it and he's walking around, it'd be a dark ending. Whereas this, it again, it has to tack on these extra couple scenes. And it reminds me of the 30,000 feet from the first season, where it would have been fine if it had ended like just 2 minutes earlier, and then it just had to keep going.
Yeah, I hated that one.
So there you go. Sorry, it's another moany episode of Twilight Zone.
I mean, I don't know what they expect at this point if they're still watching us review them.
All right, that's been New Twilight Zone episode 3 of season 2. Of course, like and subscribe if you dare. Liking's important, lets us grow, lets people on YouTube find us.
So curmudgeon-y.
What part of that was curmudgeon-y?
I don't know.
I thought I was doing my
like
pet...
and subscribe if you dare.
Well, I was kind of going for that tone because I'm like, well, yeah, who listens to me moan for like half an hour and goes, oh, I want to subscribe.
Yeah.
I want more of this in my life.
People love it. People love angry people on the internet.
Oh, ça va.
The world's full of angst.
Oh no. I've made a huge mistake. So, yeah, you can do that. Like and subscribe. You can support us on Patreon, can't you, Tara?
That's right. If you like our reviews and you want to support the channel, why not check out our Patreon page? It's patreon.com/SmilePlusTV, and donating as little as $1 per month will get you access to bonus films that we've done both in science fiction and in horror. So if you are looking for B-movie reviews, check out Patreon page. Thank you. Is that good enough?
That was alright, yeah.
I think so.
Check my notifications there while you were doing it. I trust you so much to the Patreon, but I just, I'll look at my Twitter for a minute. Tara's got the ship. She's steering. She's fine.
Yep. I've safely landed us on the sun.
So that is us, guys, on Twitter, of course, at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. But thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Oh, wait a minute. Peter? Ah! No white play along.
I always fall for it.
No white play along and pretend you're me. No, okay, all right.
It's too late. I'm too slow.
We'll see you next time, guys. Keep watching TV in the Twilight Zone.